So you've gone through the process of pulling your key, and you've gone through the process of refining your key, and you just need to put the finishing touches on cleaning up the end shot. If we look at our composition here, you can see that we've got the edge of our green screen here off on the side, and we could add a little bit more dimensionality and pop between our foreground actress and this kind of funky background. Let's get started by selecting layer 1. And I just want to create a garbage mask to cut off this right side of the screen. Now, just so I can see things more clearly, I'll zoom out with my scroll wheel and then grab my pen tool. With the pen tool, we'll want to go ahead and just click and draw a mask around the outside edge of our actress. Before we do that, let's click and drag with our current time indicator to see just how far she moves around the scene. You don't want to accidentally cut off the edges of the actress, so thankfully it looks like she's not moving too far around the screen, so we can draw the mask relatively close to where she's standing right now. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and click with the pen tool, and then click and drag to create a curved point. I'll click and drag again. Now understand, as you're creating these points, the fewer the points, the smoother the curve. And obviously, if you get too close to the actress, you need to make sure that she doesn't actually bump into the mask. So let's go ahead and click and scrub through the scene. And you can see in this edge, it's getting a little close. So I'm just going to click and drag directly on that point. When you have the pen tool selected, anytime you hover over a point, it'll allow you to just reposition that point rather than adding a new point. If we hovered over a section of the line, we could click on it and then it would add a new point on the path. But for now, I just want to reposition some of these anchor points. Now let's zoom in here a little bit and go ahead and grab our selection tool. So you can see on the right side, our background is all set. Now, if we zoom in to 100% and just move up around the right part of our scene, you can see the edge of her hair has a slight halo around it. Now, we've gone through several different iterations of changes in the effects control with Keylight. And to be brutally honest, a lot of times you could sit here and fidget with all the different settings for a very long time to try and get exactly what you want. But sometimes it's just faster to utilize the tools natively in After Effects. So what I'm going to do is take layer 1 and press Command D on my keyboard. You can press Control D on Windows to duplicate the layer. Now with a duplicate video layer, let's use the alpha channel from layer 1 to cut a mask on layer 2. So I'll select layer 2 and then go to the track matte and change the pull down from none to alpha matte green screen. Now when I do that, I've definitely softened that halo around her hair. And I didn't have to go back to Keylight to make any other changes. Now we can go ahead and preview our scene, and you can see that the key is much more clean. Now we can press the spacebar after the first few frames load. Now I'll go ahead and stop playback here for a second, and let's add a little bit more polish to the graphic. I want to add a slight drop shadow behind our actress. So I'll select layer 2 and press Command D to duplicate. And let's move the layer that moved to the top of our layer hierarchy down to the bottom and make sure to change its track matte from alpha to no track matte. And then we can go up under the effects panel and go to perspective. We want to add perspective with a drop shadow. Now with the drop shadow effect applied, look in the effects control and you'll notice at the bottom you can check shadow only. This way we're not adding any more extra information around another copy of our actress. We only have the shadow being created on this layer. So let's click and drag on the distance to add a little bit of separation here. And I'll just rotate the direction around a little bit so it's not quite so far down. And then of course, we'll click and drag on the softness to create a nice soft shadow. That shadow's a little dark for my taste, so I'll click and drag on the opacity and bring it down to somewhere around 26%. Now, so I can hide the mask, I'm going to press Shift-Command-H. On Windows, it's Control-Shift-H. Now I have one more layer of dimensionality I'm going to add, and that's by adding a light to the scene. Let's go up under Layer and choose New, Light. I just want to create a point light. We can have the intensity set around 76%, and we don't need to worry about fall off or cast shadows. Let's click OK, and then drag that light down in the layer hierarchy just below our green screen and above our background. Now I don't have any 3D layers enabled, so I'm going to go to my background 3D checkbox and go ahead and enable 3D. Now I've definitely given a little bit more pop to the scene. I just need to adjust the brightness of the light. So if I open up options for layer 4 and go to my light options here, I can go ahead and increase the intensity of that light. And now you can see I have a nice soft gradient in the scene. And if we scrub through, our model definitely looks like she's popping off the background. So adding the finishing touches to your key can be as detailed or as quick as you want. Just remember, it all generally starts with creating a garbage mask. Just don't forget you can use all the other compositing tools inside of After Effects, like the track mat or 3D layers and lights.